Hello and welcome to I Am with Eric Faria. I'm your host, and I have here with me today Joey Lieber, who is an educator and a pianist. Hi, Joey.
Hello, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here. So I would like to ask you the first question in terms of your piano career, if you will. So you were telling me that you started very young. How old are you?
Yeah, so I started at age 5.
Okay.
It's actually an interesting story of how I started.
Please.
I was with my mom in a mall, and in the center of the mall, there's a piano, and there was a guy playing the blues. Oh. And I was with my mom, and I said, "Mom, I want to do that." She said, "Joey, you want to play piano?" I said, "I want to do that." So, "Joey, you want piano lessons?" I'm like, and I just got really, really excited.
Yes.
And I'm like, "I want to do that, Mom, please."
Wow.
And I started piano lessons, and I just took to it immediately. So that's actually how I started, is by being inspired. I wish I could find that pianist and thank him. But that's actually how I started at age 5.
Wow, that's fantastic. So we're just in a mall hanging out with your mom, and you hear somebody playing, you're like, I want to do that.
Yeah, I actually told her. I actually told her, yeah. So.
Do you remember the first piano that you got?
Yeah, so the first piano I got was a brown upright. It's funny, I teach a lot locally, and also I do some abroad teaching as well to students in my online studio, and I work with people closely to get their first pianos. And it's amazing kids' reactions when they get their first piano,
Really?
when they start lessons.
I can only imagine.
And my reaction, because I have pretty good pitch, I have pretty good ears, was just to play whatever I could figure out and hear on that piano. And I find that a lot of my kids who get their first piano, which I actually have someone now who I was just talking to last night who's getting their first piano, and the kids get so excited to have this beautiful instrument come into their home.
Of course. It must be an event.
Yeah, it's a whole big thing. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the piano has always been my favorite instrument. I cannot play anything. I know that we're going to do something later together with a keyboard.
You say that now, but we're going to see it in a little bit.
But yeah, so I'm bracing myself for that. But anyway, I've never taken any lessons or anything, but I can only imagine just the sheer amount of joy that it brings to actually know how to sit down and play something as beautiful as a piano. It was always, something that I would pay attention to in music. When I was listening to a song, it was like if there was a piano solo, I was like, oh, that is so cool. It sounds so beautiful.
I think that, if we're talking young kids, a big part of empowering kids to be able to explore an instrument like that is, and I'm going to show you this later, is giving them the tools to explore the piano right away.
Yeah.
So, there's sort of multiple approaches to this. You can teach a kid how to play 3 notes, but instead of doing that, why don't you give them a construct of the whole piano to explore and give them patterns to play all over the whole piano? I'll show you that later. But basically, within the first couple lessons with a teacher, a kid can feel empowered to create, to play what they hear, to improvise, to explore this instrument that just entered into their lives. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's very, very mind altering when you actually have something like that to look forward to. I would think so. So you got your first piano. How old are you when you got it?
It was around that time.
Around that time, around 5. Really. And what was the first thing that you played or learned to play? I had pretty good ears growing up, so I guess whatever my mom was singing, I just kind of played a little bit on the piano. I started with a piano teacher around that age, and she started teaching me songs on the piano. Like classical music?
More just kind of standard repertoire just to get me going. When people say, do you start kids off with jazz or classical? It's sort of like everything. When you start a kid off with the instrument, the priority I don't think is to play classical or jazz or pop or anything like that because they're a beginner. Yeah. But the priority is bigger than that. It's more like, how can this kid feel empowered in this moment? So it's more like giving them tools like how to improvise, how to use, eventually both hands, how to use their whole entire arm. Just kind of give them the tools to create and be in the moment rather than get caught up in what style it is, because that sort of comes later.
I see. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Do we need to have like a proclivity, a talent for an instrument to start playing the piano, for example, or you think that any kid would be interested if taught the right way?
So it's an interesting question. Let's talk about what the term talent means. This kind of goes down the rabbit hole of if you talk about like prodigies or things of that nature.
Because we always listen, you always hear the stories, yes.
I think that no matter what we call someone talented, prodigious, or whatever, I think no matter what, everyone has to work to get to the next level.
Right.
No matter how good someone's ear is, if they have perfect pitch or whatever, it takes a certain level of hard work at some point in their career. I think it takes the right teacher to inspire and point that work in the right direction. So in terms of can anyone do it, I think anyone can do it. It's just everyone's process is different. Everyone learns differently. Everyone has different strengths. Everyone has different learning styles. Sure. Maybe someone's more of an ear player. Maybe someone reads better, so they go more down that path. So I think it just depends on the student and their own learning style.
I see. How long did it take you to get to a point where you said, okay, I am pretty good at what I'm doing?
I was gigging professionally in my teens.
Really?
Yeah. So
doing like parties and bar mitzvahs?
I was doing a lot of that in my teens, and let's see, I was a temple accompanist, paid accompanist in my early teens. That was one of my first piano jobs. I was an accompanist in my teens. I did a lot of parties. I was actually, it was funny, I was on LMC TV when I was in high school.
You were?
Yes.
Hello.
I was on LMC TV in high school. I was on a program called Open Stage, and I performed some of my material. And so I was performing, at a very young age. So.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad. Okay, so with the kids nowadays, they have access to things that probably you and I didn't have when we were growing up in terms of technology, right? I see that even on iPhones, they can, diddle in the little piano version that they have there. Do you think that it's easier for them to actually create their own music? Or do you think that it's still important to have not a classical training, but just, having a mentor, a tutor that they can work one-on-one with?
So let's talk about the technology world and the YouTube world and all the tutorials that exist out there. Personally, in my process with kids, I have no problem in their self-exploration if they get inspiration from lots of different places.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think that what's very important is that you have the guide of an expert just to fine-tune that process for yourself, because nothing can really replace a teacher being there in the room with you and saying, you know how you use finger 2 there and you didn't quite use your whole arm? Check how easier it is just to use your whole arm in that spot. Look how much more fluid that is. I think that with technology, there's a lot of really cool technology tools. Like, there's apps where you can plug a keyboard into an iPad and it can you can play along and it can tell if you're playing the right notes, which is great for reading.
It is.
But I think that it's important to have that student-teacher relationship, which can last for a lifetime. I mean, I know educators who are, in their later years who still study with the teacher, and I think that relationship is really important.
Cool. So, what are the ages of the kids that you usually work with?
The youngest I've worked with is 4.5.
4.5, okay.
And yes, and then I've worked up till adults.
Really?
Up till like late adults. So yeah, I worked kind of across the whole spectrum.
Wow. So which one's more challenging for you, I guess? The kids or the adults?
I would say in terms of what the term challenging means for a piano teacher, I think what's challenging, and it kind of varies from student to student, is just for me as a teacher to really be in tune with their process, because there's so many method books out there for piano teaching. There's so many there's so many approaches, but the reality is that you can have all this training in the world, but when it comes down to it, every single student is different. And I think that's the biggest challenge as a piano teacher, that you have this whole studio of students, and for me, I spent a lot of time fine-tuning the approach for every single student so that it fits them perfectly just to their learning style and their personal journey. So I think that that's the biggest challenge, no matter what the age is, making it really special for them. So that's really the biggest challenge.
I see. So that's great. I mean, this conversation is fascinating. We have to take a little break now.
Sure.
But, we will be back right after this break. More with Joey. Stick with us. Hello and welcome back to I Am with Eric Faria. I'm here once again with Joey Lieber, and gonna jump right in. So, Joey, you have a studio, correct?
Yes. So I launched a company that basically teaches all instruments across the entire tri-state area. And we have teachers from a really diverse set of backgrounds, teaching. It's a travel studio, so they go to people's homes and teach them. And it's been pretty incredible so far. So that company was launched just this past year, and yeah.
Awesome. So it's actually all instruments, not just the piano.
Yeah. So we have piano teachers, we have voice teachers, we have guitar teachers, and I'm the head of this company. I really made a really large effort to find teachers who share kind of my vision of creating lessons that are about making the process very special for a child and making it about exploration, furthering understanding, writing music, understanding music, creating music, helping them feel empowered as a musician. And I've kind of created this team of educators who share that vision with me. So
that's amazing. How did you go about finding these educators?
So I've been in music, as we talked about a second ago, since I was like 12. So really, I just picked up the phone.
Like a list of contacts, people that you've worked with and know.
Really, I just picked up the phone, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you were talking about different kinds of things, right? Like voice lessons and all of that.
Yeah.
Do you find that kids, maybe they will start with the piano and then gravitate towards like voice lessons, or vice versa, or they see that they have a talent for something else?
So the piano is actually a very interesting instrument, because if you go up to the collegiate level, at most conservatories, piano is actually a requirement. So no matter what, piano, if you're a voice major at a conservatory, you have piano required classes. If you're a guitar major, you usually have piano required classes. The reason that's the case is because piano in and of itself is such a fundamental instrument and is helpful for understanding theory, technique, composition. It's such a creative, fundamental instrument that people of all instruments, no matter what their passion is, can learn something from the piano. So what I find is that a lot of kids, even if they want to do some voice, they'll still learn some piano too, because it's so fundamental in terms of that learning process.
Right. That's amazing. I like piano even more so now. So, who were some of your early inspirations?
I would say one of the biggest inspirations in my life was my grandmother, who taught in the school system for 45 years.
Wow. Was she a pianist as well?
She wasn't a pianist, but she was just such a good teacher. And when she passed away, there was such an outpouring of love for her work
from the community
that it made me, as an educator, feel like, wow, went down the line, I would love to feel what it's like to touch other people like that in their lives. So I think she's one of my biggest inspirations. And it's funny, she was there at every single recital, so she was there throughout the whole thing.
Right.
And then another big inspiration of mine, you're probably expecting me to name musicians, but another big inspiration of mine is my dad, who was so supportive. As I started piano lessons at 5, and it immediately became very apparent that piano was a very big passion for me. And he and both my parents really helped me pursue that passion to further some extent. And actually what I found since I've been doing this work is that not only have I worked with some incredible kids, but I've also worked with some incredible parents. The parents are so crucial in the process.
I was just going to ask that, yeah.
So the way I view the process when you teach a kid, it's three-pronged: kid, teacher, parent. And it's a very much a team effort between all three. So when you have a working system between all three, amazing, amazing things happen. So what this can kind of, I call it a parental accountability system.
Yeah.
So for example, I teach the kid, I communicate the materials to the parent, and the parent is involved in the process. And the more a parent is involved in the process, the more support a kid has in their journey. And I think what I'm grateful for is having a grandmother and two parents who were so supportive of me in my journey. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I'm here right now.
That's amazing. That's very inspiring. And the fact that, you know, you had all the support really gave you the foundation that you have and to the artist and pianist and educator that you are now.
Yeah, and that's, you know, in terms of Choice Music Studio, which if you want to go check out our work, it's www.choicemusicstudio.com. That we kind of talk about on our page that this is kind of what we're all about.
Yeah.
This team mindset, this kind of like passionate approach.
Right.
That was my vision. That's how I grew up.
Because that's what you had, so you want that for other kids.
So I want that for other people.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I've been trying to create. And so far, my vision's slowly been kind of coming to fruition. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you write music as well?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
So recently, I have some following in the teacher community kind of globally, and I've been arranging pieces for kids to play as part of their learning process. So awesome. I'm actually published in one of the methods that I use for exercises for kids to use. So I'm published in that sense. And then also I've created some content online that teachers can use as part of their lessons. And that's been very rewarding as people have kind of like taken to some of my passionate work with improv and kind of creativity.
So you like to do improv in terms of like the creative process?
Yeah, I find improv to be very crucial in the creative process because it helps kids feel empowered. They get to create. There's no, I think when kids are very interesting because we as adults can experience a very serious sense of doubt. But kids, when in terms of their development, kind of have an advantage in that their sense of doubt is a little different from ours.
Right.
So they are a little bit freer of that inhibition. So something like creativity really does very well with a young child.
For sure. And I can only imagine like how somebody who is 6 is much more open to the possibility of like just exploring than somebody who is 60.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm going to show you a little bit later about what that exploration looks like so you can get a sense of that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm 30. I'm not 60, but we'll see how we'll do with that. All right, so we're going to take a little break. This conversation is going great. So on the next segment, you're going to teach me some improv. All right, techniques. Okay, I'm bracing myself. All right, so for everybody watching, we're going to be back right after this break. Stick with us. Hello and welcome back to I Am with Eric Faria. As you can see, we have a different setup right now, and we're going to play some keyboard, or at least try to.
So biggest question, have you ever played piano before?
Never in my life.
Never in your life, okay. So I want you to, we're going to do some playing pretend here. Imagine you are a young child and you also have never played piano before. It's your first lesson ever. And at this point in your piano career, you don't really have the ability to navigate, all 5-finger playing.
Got it.
So let's take all 5 fingers and let's really simplify things for yourself, and let's make a pirate hook hand.
Okay.
Like this. Now this immediately for a child makes things much, much simpler because it just limits the motion just to 1 finger. Now when we talk about improvisation, to help a child improvise and create successfully, I like to create a construct for them to do that. And the piano is beautifully constructed because it does it for us. And what we use are the black keys.
Got it.
So within the first lesson, a child can create on the black keys, and it's up to the teacher to supplement and help them feel empowered in that process. So play this after me. you can start doing call and response with a kid to start getting to create some vocabulary. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to create some sounds on the black keys. With kids, it takes some more coaching. And I'm going to play along with you, okay?
Okay, so I can...
So you can do any black key you want, okay?
Okay, got it.
1, 2, 1, 2, here we go. Right?
That was fun.
So that gets you creating immediately.
Yes.
Now let's go a step further. Let's pick a style to do it in.
Okay.
Let's try to do it in a rock style, okay?
Oh.
So do what you did again, and we'll
Okay.
try to transform it to a rock style, okay? Here we go.
All right.
1, 2, 1, 2, here we go. Okay, that was a rock style. And so the way it works is that I create an accompaniment that allows kids to create and do it in a certain kind of groove.
Right.
Let's try to do it in a more kind of groovy kind of pop kind of style, okay?
Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2, here we go. Cool.
That was cool, yeah. Good job.
Awesome. So let's try to mix it up. So with kids very early on, I like to start having them think in terms of tonality. So major versus minor. So now let's do it again.
Okay.
Let's try to do it in a minor tonality.
minor tonality.
Let's try to slow it down. So do it a little bit slower, okay? 1, 2, here we go.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're talking different tonalities. This is the
Right.
first lesson a kid ever does.
Yeah.
So imagine how exciting this is for a young kid.
Very exciting.
Like they're creating on the spot.
Yeah.
So here's what I want you to do. Why don't we try to create a song? So why don't you try to create a melody? Why don't you try to do that melody back to me?
Okay.
Same, going up. Go ahead.
Okay.
This is a melody actually from a series, the same one I was published in. Let's just stick with just that little construct.
Okay.
Just that little melody. Try it again. Now try it here. Good. Now try here again. And then kids can take these ideas and move it around. Now just play a similar idea anywhere else you want. It doesn't have to be the same thing. Play a similar idea anywhere else.
Okay, I'll do it over here.
Yeah. Now try to go back down. This is called theme and variation, where we take a theme and we vary it.
Yeah.
So this is about creativity, using ideas and themes and changing it up. Okay, let's just jam out for a while, shall we?
Yes.
So let's just do some. Remember, this is a kid's very first lesson, and we're jamming already. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. Now just go all over. Go all over. So now let's do one more, and this time I want you just to go totally wild, okay?
Okay.
So here we go. So just like lots of notes, make lots of melodies, and then and we'll talk about it. Okay, 1,
Okay.
2, here we go.
There was a little ending there.
Yeah, that was awesome. So that's kind of a sense. Do you have any questions for me at all? Or?
No, it's actually pretty easy now that I have had my first encounter with a keyboard. It's not a piano, but it's a keyboard.
Yeah.
It seems so simpler than, when you actually see somebody playing, it's like going all over the place. I can't even know where to begin or how to do it.
The multi, all 5 fingers and facility all over the piano takes time.
Yeah.
But I think what's really important is as kids progress from doing 1 finger to 3 fingers to 5 fingers, and they start moving all over the piano, is that throughout their entire journey and their whole process, we help them feel empowered throughout their whole process. And stuff like this helps them feel empowered from the very, very first lesson.
For sure, and it's so much, like I said, simpler because I was just playing literally with 1 finger.
Yeah, and 1 finger playing is really great for kids who are just starting out because it helps them use their whole arm. Arm weight is really important at the very beginning. Okay, so let's try another exercise. So now we're going to do some call and response.
Okay.
This game is called You Do What I Do. Okay. I'm going to play, and then you play what I do back. Here we go. So do what I do.
Okay.
Do it again. So your job is to watch very closely what I do up here and do it back, okay?
Okay.
This is called call and response, and kids do this very early on, okay?
Got it.
1, 2, here we go. The voice is so huge. With kids, I have them singing all over the place.
Yeah.
Because when we sing, it connects this and our voices with what we're playing on piano. Ba, 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 ba. Go ahead. Here's the challenge. Try to sing as you play, okay? Ba, 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 ba. 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 Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba.
Awesome. Joey, this is amazing. I love it. Now I want to play piano. Now I should be taking your lessons. All right, so I love this. This was great. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun.
I hope that people, reach out, contact you, and go on the website for your company. What is it again?
So it's choicemusicstudio.com.
There we go. And this was amazing. So if this is the way that people learn, kids and adults, I guess we will have some more pianists coming up in the coming years.
In the ranks, yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
of
totally.
course, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thank you. So for everybody watching, thank you very much. I will see you next week with a new episode of I Am. Bye now.